Okay, so here are your weights, and then I'll send you your 5-day split program as well as nutrition program, because you need to count your calories. Come on, man, the only thing you need is the basic calisthenics, the push-ups, the pull-ups, and then eat every day the same high protein recipes so you don't have to count any calories. The maximalist versus the minimalist. On one hand, you can use a lot of time at the gym and counting your calories and so on. On the other hand, you can use basic calisthenics and your gut feeling of how much you eat per day. At the end of the day, these are the things that matter. Now, if you want to become a professional bodybuilder, of course, use the maximalist approach. But on the other hand, if you have a lot of other things in your life and training would be or is a small part of your life, then I would argue that not just becoming a beginner, but even to become elite, the minimalist approach is the most optimal for you. You see, personally, I found a lot of benefits from using this minimalist approach. Now, I don't know if I'm a so-called elite athlete, but we will also discuss in this video my personal own achievement with this minimalist approach. So for this type of minimalistic training, I've been really inspired by the Navy SEALs that use really primitive type of training, basic calisthenics, swimming, and cardio. Now again, this type of training won't get you that professional bodybuilder look that the maximalist can achieve. But if you want to look like an elite warrior, then focus your training on using foundational calisthenics, for instance, 3 times per week. Now that's a small training volume, meaning that these type of workouts have to be really intense. Then add to that cardiovascular training, which means that you use cardio, running. And in the running part, you actually want to, for instance, go once per week at steady state cardio. So basically the running should feel intense, but not so intense that you can't talk. Then you can add to that intense running, which is lactic threshold training, which means that you're improving your VO2 max, so your maximum oxygen intake capabilities. Combine these two parts, basic calisthenics and cardio training, and you will reap most of the rewards of looking great, having dense muscle mass, low body fat percentage, and also improving your cardiovascular system. And a really underrated aspect is that it supports your brain health, as intense training and cardio training will help your brain to release something called the BDNF protein, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a so-called BDNF protein, which really basically is exercise for the brain. So when you look good, you feel good, and when you feel good, you do good. So it's about looking and performing great now, but it's also about slowing down the biomarkers such as the drop in your testosterone, the drop in your VO2 max, and also making sure that your basic metabolic rate is at an optimal level. And going back to the maximalist, there's one YouTuber, Jeff Nippard, who recently talked on his YouTube channel about his brother not really being into training, and he prescribed to his brother this, I would say it's a minimalist training program. And the program was 20 minutes of training once per week, 1 to 3 sets per push, pull, and legs. So push-ups, pull-ups, and squats, for instance. So here you will reap the rewards of building muscle mass as well as to build strength. Now he also referenced one study where they showed that even 1 set per week reaped 64% of the benefits compared to training at optimal levels 10 to 20 sets per week per muscle group. So think about it, if you would do now 1 set of push-ups, you would reap 64% of the benefits of doing push exercise per week. Now that's pretty incredible. But I would also add here that instead of doing cardio, you can do walking, because multiple studies show that especially beneficial for longevity, that when you do walking, for instance, say 10,000 steps per day, it can really have a profound effect where you burn up to 300 calories per day. Also, the nice thing about walking is that it suppresses our ghrelin hormone, which is our hunger hormone, meaning that we will be less likely to have an appetite for more food. And that brings me to my own personal experience with this minimalist approach. So a year ago, in my 30s, I decided to dedicate myself seriously to calisthenics with this minimalist approach. And that meant that on average, I would use 3 times per week calisthenics for 45 minutes and doing daily walking, basically skipping the other stuff. So this minimalistic training helped me to have reasonable success within calisthenics, such as breaking a muscle-up record here in Finland and winning a few medals. That doesn't mean that I don't take any inspiration from the maximalist. For instance, staying longer at the gym when I have more time in the weekend, or training some small muscle groups such as the tricep or the deltoids, whatever that could be. But in general, I focus on the basic compound movement in basic calisthenics. And if you also want to do that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and check this video out and this video out. I'll see you in the next video.